Hey everybody, hope you guys doing alright. So, reading from Tony Hillerman's Coyote Waits. Alright, we're at the top left page here. She said it might be a light-covered car, or maybe a pickup, or maybe it was just dusty. When was this? It was the evening before Hosteen Pinto got arrested over New Mexico. Leaphorn flipped back through the report. He found nothing about any of this. Did a policeman come to talk to you? A young white man, she said, with those little spots on his face, and a Navajo to translate for him. Freckles, Leaphorn thought. A culture unafflicted with freckles was no noun for them. What did they want to know? They asked about the pistol. They asked about what Hosteen Pinto was doing over there. Where did Pinto get the pistol? Where did he get the two $50 bills he had in his pocket? Did Hosteen Pinto know Delbert Nez, the man they say he shot? They asked questions like they thought Hosteen Pinto was bootlegging wine. Like, how did Hosteen Pinto act when he was drunk? Did he get into fights? How did he make a living? Was he a bootlegger? Miss Cayenne and had been looking down at her hands, Now she looked up. They seemed to think for sure he was a bootlegger. She shook her head. How did you answer? I said maybe the $50 bills were his fee from the one who came and got him. Fee? He had his crystals with him, Miss Cayenne said. When he was younger, he used to work finding things for people. When I was a little girl, they would come from as far away as Tuba City and even Cayenta and Layup. He was pretty famous then. He was a crystal gazer, Leaphorn said. He leaned forward. If this man was working as a shaman, maybe there was more to this than just another senseless, sordid whiskey killing. He still worked at it? Not much, she thought about it. Last year he found a horse for a man who works over a copper mine, and then he did a little work for a white man, and he would work with Dr. Bourbonette. She nodded at the professor. That was about all I know about that. that was about all I know about. What had the white man lost? I think he was hunting old-time stories. Leaphorn wasn't sure what she meant. He waited for an explanation. None came. Was Hosteen Pinto someone the authority... hold on. It was someone the anthropologist, came to see to learn the old stories, like Professor Bourbonette. Alright, so I like to spice it up. So that's just one book I'm going to read. The next one's going to be from Giles Milton, Samurai William, the adventurer who unlocked Japan. And we are on the left side of the book at the top. Alright. Cyrus was astonished when he saw the quality of the road. Its sand and gravel surface was wonderful even, and where it meeteth with mountains, passages it cut through. The road was divided into leagues, and at the end of each league was a marker in the form of a prairie pine tree, trimmed round in the fashion of an arborer. The purpose of these trees was so that the hackney men and those which let out horses to hire should not make men pay more than their due. The contrast with travel in England could not have been more striking. When Cyrus traveled from London to see his family in Yorkshire, he suffered the ordeal of broken roads and pitiful lodgings. English roads were muddy, potholed, and often impassable in the wetter months of the year. They are often very deep and troublesome in the winter, wrote William Harrison in 1587 in the description of England. He said that landowners often refused to clean roadside drains, whereby the streets do grow to be much more gullied, rutted than before, and thereby very noisome for such as travel by the same. Adams had sent a letter to the court informing them that he would soon be arriving with a small band of English visitors. When Iowasa received this message, he immediately sent a plannikin and a horse to make their progress even more pleasurable. Cyrus was particularly pleased to have been given a slave whose sole purpose was to run in front of him carrying a pike. The men stopped each night in roadside lodgings where the owners would cook them rice and fish and pickled herbs, beans, radishes, and other roots. Cyrus noted that there was an abundance of cheese, unaware that he was actually eating tofu or being curd. There were few dangers on the road, and Adams' persistence made that the men were rarely abused or insulted. Explained to Cyrus that Japan had a tightly regulated system of local government, which imposed a rigorous discipline on the population. There is not a land better governed in the whole world by civil policy. Each town had a governor, and every street was gated. Houses were divided into clusters, with a headman charged with maintaining order, and everyone kept a close eye on the doings of their neighbors, especially after dark when a curfew was imposed. Each street is closed at dusk, wrote the Spaniard Rodrigo de Vivero de y Valesco, and soldiers are always on duty. If any crime is committed, the alarm is raised, and in next to no time, the gates are shut in order to catch the wrongdoer. The only sight to to disturb the pleasure of the men's journey came at the approach to each town where the road was lined with the crucified remains of thieves and murderers. All right, go on to the next one. This is going to be from a fifth read, Arnold and Gilbert, California State Series. A fifth reader, excuse me. And all right, so again, we're at the left-hand side, top of the book. They rode a long way over the windy passes, and from height to height of the great chain of the Pyrenees, till they mounted the topmost ridge, from which they could see the Bay of Biscay, heaving with the great Atlantic swell on the right, and the blue Mediterranean glittering in the sunlight to their left. Thence they followed a rugged track, which led them down the southern side of the mountain range, and brought them at length to the desolate valley, in the midst of which rose the steep mass of rock, crowned with its enchanted castle of shining steel. The Bradamante thought it was high time to get possession of the magic ring, so she leaped upon Brunello as a cat leaps on a mouse, and before he had time to think of what was happening to him, she had dragged him from his saddle and tied his hands behind his back with a piece of whipcord. But the generous damsel would not draw her sword, as Melissa had bidden her against an unarmed man, and even though she knew the hideous little dwarf to be the most thorough-paced scoundrel unhung, still she took shame to slay him, and when she saw him bound and helpless at her feet, in this only did she disobey the instructions of Melissa, and I am happy to say that her generosity brought her no harm, though the world would certainly have been grateful to her for making an end of so pestilent a rascal. However, she dared not leave him at liberty, or he would certainly have revenged himself for the assaults by working the ruin of her enterprise. So she bound him securely to a great tree that grew near by the side of the path, and there left him to shriek himself hoarse with abuse of her. But first she took the precious ring which he wore and put it upon her own finger, and with it went on confidently towards the castle. The four sides of the crag went sheer down from the top to bottom, but in one of them the enchanter had cut a pathway so narrow that only one person could ride along it at a time, and so steep that it needed a strong and sure-footed horse to clamber up it. With great difficulty Bradamante got her Jeanette to make the ascent, and she no sooner came to the level platform at the top than she seized the horn that hung by the castle's gate, and blew a blast which made the bright walls quiver, and the ring with its echo. With its echo. Her challenges was answered from within the castle, and immediately afterwards Bradamante saw her enemy shoot up into the air and wheel in great circles above her head. All right, moving on to the next one. My bookmarks over here. All right, we're going to do a little Shakespeare, the tragedies of Shakespeare. And again, we're on the left-hand side of the book, top of the page. All right. And here I swear by all the Roman gods, sith priest and holy water are so near, and tapers burn so bright, and everything in readiness for Hymenaeus' stand, I'm going to mispronounce that, I will not resalute the streets of Rome, or climb my palace, till from forth this place I lead espoused my bride along with me, Tamora, and here in sight of heaven to Rome I swear, if Saturine advance the queen of Goths, she will a handmaiden be to his desires, a loving nurse, a mother to his youth, Saturines, ascend, fair queen, Pantheon, lords, accompany your noble emperor and his lovely bride, sent by the heavens for Prince Saturine, whose wisdom hath her fortune conquered. There shall we consummate our spousal rights. Exeunt all but Titus. Titus, I am not bid to wait upon this bridge. Titus, when wert thou wont to walk alone, dishonored thus and challenged of wrongs? Re-enter Marcus, Lucius, Quintus, and Martius. Marcus, Titus, see what thou hast done. In a bad quarrel slain a virtuous son. Titus, no, foolish tribune, no son of mine, nor those confederates in the deed. That hath dishonored all our family, unworthy brother and unworthy sons. Lucius, but let us give him burial as becomes. Give Mutius burial with our brethren. Titus, traitors, away! He rests not in this tomb. This monument 500 years hath stood, which I have sumptuously re-edified. Here none but soldiers and Rome's servitors repose in fame, not basely slain in brawls. Bury him where you can, he comes not here. Marcus, my lord, this is impiety in you. My nephew Mutius's deeds do plead for him. He must be buried with his brethren. Quintus, Martius, and shall or him we will accompany. Titus, and shall, what villain was it spak that word? Quintus, he that would vouch in it any place but here. Titus, what, would you bury him in my despite? Marcius, no, noble Titus, but entreat of thee to pardon Mutius, and to bury him. Titus, Marcius, even thou hast struck upon my crest, and with these boys mine honor thou hast wounded. My foes, I do repute you every one, so trouble me no more, but get you gone. Martius, he is not with himself, let us withdraw. Quintius, not I, till Mutius' bones be buried. Marcius and the sons of Titus kneel. Marcius, brother, for in that name doth nature plead. Quintius, father, and in that name doth nature speak. Titus, speak thou no more, if all the rest will speed. Marcius, renowned Titus, more than half my soul. Lucius, dear father, soul and substance of us all. Marcius, suffer thy brother Marcius to enter. His noble nephew here in virtue's nest, that died in honor in Lavinia's cause. Thou art a Roman, be not barbarous. The Greeks upon advise do bury Ajax, that slew